Is there a version 2? So around that marker. There's other things that I should probably put in the splits before this, but I'm just going to go those two, and then I'm going to build the splits as we go. Maybe I should do the timer starts from when you actually enter the game, or take control of the character like I did with first Berserker. Doesn't really need for those cutscenes. But yeah, so in this process here, folks, we are kind of putting together a speedrun for these in essence. Now, there's always ways to make things better, improve things like the choice of attacks, the setup you go for, team builds, and things like that. The entirety of this game is quite long. So a full game run, I'm not entirely sure how long that would take. So this is a way of building into it to see if it's remotely a possibility, and it's something different as well. Level 6 that we unlock perks. Not ideal there. Probably won't go with it. Yeah, I'm gonna say let's not go with the scatter shot. Just go with the jab there. The scatter shot doesn't do as. I don't think it does as much damage. And that way around. It'll heal. And then we head up here. Don't think... I don't really need to pick those up there. I'm just curious because we can actually go around the fight here. So is the go around the fight quicker to get to Garrison? Or is it longer? Either or. We work these things out as we go. Sophie, yeah, do me a favor, mate, as well. Just drop me a reminder, and I will put some in my diary just to make sure. I know it's not for a little while. To be fair, it's not for a little while, so we'll sort it out when.
I'm just you could get. Oh, right, back to
Alright, do that. Head back down here, get the northern key. Make sure to take the better route this time. Harrison's our boy. There's a character that XL will particularly like in this game. I mean, she's one of the stronger characters too. it was this way this time. Because I think the worm thing was longer. Because, yeah. No, it's 2 slimes. Did I go the wrong way again? Maybe. Oh no, it was supposed to go that way, the right way, because the 2 slimes, just going through the right side gives you 1 fight instead of 2. Doi. Maybe that's both XP there. I mean, unless the XP is enough to be worthwhile. That's another question. Nice. A little more damage than we'd like. Yeah. Need a way to build up that overcharge quick. So Warblade is one of his best moves. Alright. We'll take that. And it's the chick in the red. There you can see. Generally one of the stronger characters in the game. But yes, we're in this for a run. Basically, we have done dungeon percent, which is like going through the first dungeon. It has 3 different difficulties to attached to it as well. Then we're going to do one based on the characters you get. So there's 3 different characters, all of the different parts of the game, and they are like hit points within the game, basically.
Careful.
Okay, that's bad placement there for an enemy. Also, it's not always guaranteed where these enemies will be. But I'm pretty sure this one was not here previously. No, we're not going there. We're just going to go get this chest to see if it gives us more items used to help us get through this quicker. Forest loop. Close damage and haste. Yeah, we'll take that. Not ideal, this isn't, but XP might be good. Okay, nice big hit. Didn't think it was one shot there, but sure. Make this to finish. Sweet. Level 3, we'll take that. So as you can see here, you've got average, hard, and very hard. Okay, I've changed this name of this one to Iron Outpost.
We went.
So I think these are procedure generated. I don't know if there's like set seeds or there's just multiple seeds for these dungeons, but all right. There's gonna be some big damage here. Chonk, 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 chonk. Yeah. Let's get through here. You. Shame. This is not particularly a fight I want to be involved in. Damage is not ideal. Again, we'll get the barrier. Try and keep the team alive. Alright, one down. Eat. Deaded. Boo, you could have healed him at the bottom, you jackass. Dead. Ugh. If I wasn't an ideal one, these little tanky things take too much time to get rid of. But Bretto keeping us in it. Alright, so we're going the right way. Let's go this. Let's take this guy out first. Great. Oh, look how much health he got back then. Kind of sucks. Yeah. Pick up the top one. Puts him low. Yeah, he's gonna go for that again. Of course he is. Each. Both dead? Close. Mention all sorts of enemies this time. Okay, again. Oh, I think we need to take him out actually. Okay, that touched some of the buff up. Ay. No, we kind of need the healer alive. Ooh la la. Warblade do. There's a chunk to him, but not enough. Okay, you lot need to chill on Garrison. Problem is now he's gonna get big and tanky. I need to finish him before he does this because he's gonna go attack up, bit chunky, hit like 20 a punch. But okay, close to it. Yay. Deaded. There's a damage dealer dead. Bonus damage. Take that. Oh crap. Really need to pay attention to what enemies I'm walking into here. Dead. I was too close for comfort. You may need to chill your absolute beaver down. Yeah. way too much damage there. You can hurt. Oh, that was close. Lose the haze but get more stamina. Okay. It looks like we've gone the wrong way. Procedurally generated, folks. Love it. Boo. Lying next to me. We're already behind our PB here. Should have got a heal off there. All blade to finish. Just want to see if it does. It should. Yeah. I mean, I've already got one on there that it needs to verify. I haven't sorted out the rules on that yet. I need to sort that part out. But this is trying to get us the first new character, basically. All right, so let's go Rally Strike. stupid damage. Those things are a pain. Sting. But yeah, possibly Excel. Yeah, I will take the bleed. I generally think this is a game you would enjoy, Excel. Or it might be too, it could be too slow, who knows. I stand by what I said. And I think in general for a lot of games, we need an 80% routing team. And that goes for like the collective games, not just the specific ones that we're specialised in. That should just be, we should have a collective. Basically, yeah. And Sancho as well. I think Sancho fits in there because he obviously we all kind of looked at thingy. I think for the most part, obviously we've done it. I think obviously Expedition 33. Wildfire. Between all three of us, we do different runs too. So, exactly. That's a shot. We got Rage Wave. Jackass, quicker than me for. Right, you sod off, little thing. But you see what I mean? So okay, so we got to the boss part now, this dungeon. But we are behind on what we set for our original thingy one, but we're going for the next character. It's effectively where we're at. We are almost at the part where we get perks, because they unlock at 6. Alright. And I mean, it's not a bad looking boss to start with, is it? You know what? I think we will take the shield. Bleed. Shield took the blunt most of that. Nature's Boon did some work, sweet. We'll get enough for it to do Warblade. Sunder your armor. Give a barrier to Garrison. But he's going to go from it again, isn't he? Hold it. Warblade. Get rid of the bleed. Okay, thanks for that. Nature's Boon. I think we just go as much damage as we can now. So you, let's go. Oh, here's his big move. Nature's Boon putting in work. Gut punch from Bretto. Boom! Sweet. So we missed the split for Northern Key. My bad.
The blade, this is more.
The band, have you?
No, it's yeah.
Oh, okay. Not good though. And you see what I mean, XL? There's the RNG that comes into it, because the one we did was 35 minutes. Double killed. Okay. There are things like that good to know as well. The XP from double kills. Maybe I should start taking notes on some of this stuff. Because stuff like that could generally help.
What do you need?
I didn't really need to spend that gold, did I?
Intel, I'll be here.
Close the door.
What? What do you...
Forget if we're
Our
Goodbye. Ooh, finally.
Alright, and then we go up this way. Because we're going to get the teleporter. Then we've got another, like, arena kind of thing to get through. Oh no, so we know it's another, that's the second dungeon, actually. Just attack. And then we go up from here. Sweet. Take that. Double kill again. Sweet. More XP. Better. Alright, that gives us... perks. Let's go haste. 10% chance, not enough. Also uses a system like, so for those who have played Final Fantasy 9, so use the point system like that when using things. Not necessarily a case you have to master them, it's just a case of having enough points overall. So I guess like Expedition 33 then, I guess, as well, like Pictos. Except for the requirement to master them, just have the points there to allocate them. $63 damage. Alright, so he's got some decent defense on him. Maybe we could sunder his armor. Eesh. Sweet. All right.
something on this. Forget the blend. Let's
Pat. You know what? I'm gonna go damage. Uh, So we can't go through there because they're all shooting those cannons there. That's why we're having to do this, because we're going to activate this teleporter down here to effectively get around it. But what we're going to do is just take a quick rest. Then go. And then we'll go here. Great. Okay, so Bass just dodging everything. Okie dokie then. Wow, that's a lot of damage. There was also some substantial damage. Bleed should kill him. Bleed kills. Most event stamina. So this dungeon's not easy. First we go down here and it gives us a thing to say we need to do 2 things to get to the end part of it. Gotta kill the bannerman. Sweet. Oh dear. Ugh. Right, if we do that, go into that. Nice hit. Garrison's nearly level 7. Good. The games that they try to push and ads or promos on it. It does look kind of very simple like that. It is very simplistic. Come join Raid Shadow Legends. Ooh, what? Oh, I will take that. Um. I shouldn't have used that one. Waste it. MP there. Or stamina, whatever. Yeah, XP gain is just so slow there. Big bat. Maybe on the door. We won't attack the merchant this time. These are all chunky mofos in this part. I don't think we're gonna have enough time at this rate. Still remember all the bits and pieces where to get there, and we have to get through the fights as well. Yes. Not the game for it, mate. Not the game for it. No, not really. I appreciate the contextual difference between these kind of games. Like Final Fantasies, I'll never get bored of Final Fantasies because of even though they don't have the whole parry and dodge mechanics. They are based on face tanking damage or killing before they get to do damage. Right? Every game has their different merits. Shit! I need some manners. Just saying, I need some manners. Nice. Should I use Purify actually? Yeah, I should definitely just use Purify for a heal and that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll take something from it. You know, maybe they'll take something from it. 4 points. Yep, 2 points less to use. You know what? Let's get you playing first. I guess there's two problems if they do decide to do it now, because if they did decide to do it now, is it purely just because of Expedition 33, or did they have any intention to do it at all? I mean, like 100% I'd play it, but I'd still want. It's not like E3 invent the wheel or anything. No, exactly. But if you the ones that stand out to it is Legend of Dragoon, as one of the initial, one of the earlier ones that did it. I don't know who did that original piece into it, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like if it comes a case of like if they do it, is it just because they was influenced by that or what? Or did they have any kind of inkling that they wanted to do it? And if they do it, can they deliver a good story that goes along with it to really drive it home? I don't mean like what Expedition did, who he did. I don't know, just generally just a good story. Oh dear, that's a lot of enemies. Thank you for the alert, Wicked. Thank you, thank you. Cypher deals 21 damage to all enemies, restore 30 power. Each enemy that is bleeding. Okay. They just stick with the FF7R format in terms of combat. So, yeah, well, the active battle. Yeah, but I guess that applies to two different kind of Final Fantasy fans, though. Because me personally, don't get me wrong, I like the look of it. I'm looking forward to playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. But it still doesn't feel like. These lot take an absolute beating. Take that. Send to him. Keep my best choice there. Bleed, kill. Sweet. I mean, I do enjoy Kingdom Hearts' combat, and I don't mind it, but it's just like, I don't know, there's just the piece of me that's like, well, Final Fantasy's turn-based, you know, enjoy that kind of shit vibe. That's just the kind of thing. Like FF7, 8, 9, 10, all that, you know, that kind of style of it all is just kind of resonates still. Let's use Purify. Need some help. kill this one. Poison will kill it. Okay, pussy. Okay, sweet. That's one down. Mm-hmm. That shortcut's back to the beginning. Not particularly. Asshole. Alright, it's one side done. We've got the other side to do, and then it's the boss for this one. Yeah, mimic. We've got another one straight fight afterwards, I think. Yep. Nice stun. I think we take out the bomber first. I don't appreciate that. Easy. Yeah. A big yawn. There's something up there. I swear there was. Okay, these are the abandonment of this. Let's put this campfire out. It should be done. Let's get shot. Sweet. Go for the bleed. You could do less of that. Oh. Ado and Don, welcome in, sir. Welcome in. Oh shit, I didn't put him into heal. Okay, that could be a boo-boo. No. It's fine. I'm at the moment. What's going on, Dom? Talk to your brethren. What is going on, sir? No, it's not nearby. Oh, dude. The neighbor. See, I listen. I remember it was the neighbor. fucking good I am. You all think I don't pay attention to your shit. I do. Hey, I pride myself on making sure I pay attention to all of you, like when you tell me stuff, alright? Sorry to hear, dude. Mutual, or I'm assuming it's not mutual, and I'm assuming it was more her. By the sounds of the fact you are slightly feeling a bit down. If you don't mind me asking, if you don't want to talk about it, you can DM me, or you can just not talk about it. We can just blase past it. Make jokes, but I'm not going to. Kind of mutual. Okay. Who did the bad stuff? Oh shit. I don't want to be fighting a mimic right now. No, 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 no. Right, taunt it. You can take the damage. Let's give heals on it. Let's get bleed on it. It's got too much. It's got a lot of health. Okay. Okay, okay. Cool. Okay, that clarifies things a bit more. Can you stop chomping? I'm sorry to say, dude. Hey, look, sometimes it's better to find out early than too late. So, we move on, we forget. You know, they can live their best life. If they were dicks about things, they're off, dude. No, exactly. That's just, yeah. It wasn't, but at the same token, I get why. Yes, it's still a bummer all around. I get that, dude. This thing has too much health for my liking, and is wasting my time. Oh, dude, that's the sad news. The other part we could have gone without, that's the sad news. I'm sorry to hear, dude. That sucks. No Walker. Is that what was that the cat's name? Walker? Oh, jeez. I'm sorry to you, dude. Well, this is it. This is it. It's as they say, death is just a part of another day in life, isn't it? I mean, we all live to die, right? So we can't get caught up in it too much. The only thing you can think of, Dom, is the cat had a good life while sleeping, because clearly you two are the bestest buds. So long as an animal has a good owner, then they're good. Good. Keep yourself busy. Take your mind out of all the nonsense that's going on. Alright, show Excel how to do a rando. Nice. Alright, now we should have all the banners done here. Yep. Okay, and that's the last fight, and this should get us through, but it's gonna be a ball ache of a fight, I guarantee it. Can't go wrong with the Muse. Alright, two invisible characters. The chieftains are 5 I think if we put him low, he drains the other ones. So you know what we're gonna do? For a few attacks. We're gonna hold off on using that first. We're gonna go ahead and taunt. Hopefully this is going to tank everything here. I've got Guy's Fist on you. The bleed on you. I'm just going to focus the attacks in the middle and see if he'll just take care of getting rid of those. Keep that going. Thing. Should have used Purify, but it's fine. H. Alright, now you're gonna drain your team, maybe? Yeah, okay. We baited that part out, at least. He goes back to full health, but he gets rid of the other two. For now, I think he does call in reinforcements, but we'll get this out of the way. I mean, he does go into frenzy mode, which is not great, but AoE attack maybe? No? Okay, he's doing that. Okay, cool. You need to get some healing on this one. Let's get some haste. Yeesh. Oh, days. Curse is putting in too much work. Who's dying? Of course, my damage dealer. Oh no, who else? You know what? We'll just use it on everybody. And try and get rid of this curse. You know what? We will go with the taunt. He's going again. Bratto, you need healing. We're gonna keep trying to taunt. Not too sure. I'll post up in the Discord though. I'm not too sure. I'm most likely. I think it'll be after Christmas, Bugs Day, but we'll be for sure not on over Christmas Day. But I'll post in the Discord when I'm due back. Don't you worry. I'll let you all know. For new thing for Gordo here, we are going to try and be a little bit more structured with things. I also want to make it a point to kind of iron out what content falls into what category a little bit more. I want to kind of level up what we've been doing from the stream side of things now and see if we can push it further. All right, that's the plan. Bleed. We'll do that. It's gonna absolutely body us, but don't do the airway attack. Of course you did. Of course you did. Oh, we got next to no health here. This is going to be tight. Okay. Okay. $82. Alright, we got some health back there. Alright, okay. Bleed came in clutch.
I've never seen it, let alone.
I do not eat
Men could.
Like, this must. Why? Let's.
I've got 2 points to use, so we could. I'm sure it's going to see my roll play 460. I feel like we just go. Up 2 points. I'll think about the next things and let's just go straight with that. We'll just tap. Yeah, what? We'll try it. Are you serious? We came up here for fucking sightseeing. That's all. It quite clearly looked like an important place to go. But yeah, for those who have seen this, watching this for the first time, yes, it looks very simplistic, and it is. Oh, that genius. Okay, so that was Path of Fangs. That's the second dungeon. Now we get to run through here. And we take out the siege cannon. We'll take that. That's out of the way.
This is gonna come from me. Be the change I couldn't be. Can I find a life that's like fairy tales, far from this tragedy?
Notorious MFT, thank you for the raid, sir. Welcome in, welcome in. You, of course, in the midst of playing some Battle Chasers Night War, which is a game that I'm rooting for a speed run for a board that I'm setting up for it. It is a turn-based game, basically similar to like Final Fantasy and things like that, but it's very simplistic but nice. It's not going too bad. We've been cut a few times. Things are a little bit close in places, but not bad, not bad. How about you, sir? What were you up to? Can I get a shout out if I've got a mod in chat? Can I get a shout out for Notorious here, please? And if you're not following this gentleman, you should definitely look to do so. Why? Well, because I said so. Anybody that is reading over Notorious, just to give you an FYI here, my name is Gordo. I am a speedrunner, challenge runner, variety streamer, you name it, I do it, with a smile on my face and a coffee at my side. We have run out of coffee, but I'm still smiling, so we're winning somewhere. Playing Deus Ex first playthrough. Oh, nice, nice. I did see you was playing the old one. You know, it's the original, right? Is it the remastered one, or is it just the original? Yeah, I'm a fan of Deus Ex. I did like the newer ones they did. I know one of them got a bit of slack from people, but to be fair, I thought they were pretty decent games. Okay. It's down this way. Remember rightly. Oh, that's one chunky fella. Don't want to fight you right now, I'll be honest, mate. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I haven't played the Deus Ex games in ages. Jeez, I can't even remember the first. It's been that long since I played the original. Oh, my bad, my bad. Also, if we, you know what? Yeah, let me know if you're in ads, folks. I will stop. I'll stop talking shit for those who are, you know, unfortunately suffering to. Just let me know. I'll stop talking shit. And then we'll wait until everybody's involved, because you know, can't let ads ruin everything. So many different ways of approaching every situation. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like Baldur's Gate in the essence of things like that. That kind of style of things. It's like you just have choices how you do things. It's a little bit more open to your own playstyle. You know, like you've got your old classics. You can stealth, you can aggro, all that kind of stuff. I don't think. Yeah, let's do that. Now, do I have to try? I bet I have to try and fight him there, don't I? Oh no, we don't. Okay. Aha. Hey, interesting. If fleet actually gets rid of the things, that isn't too shabby. Good to know. Alright. That is officially getting Nolan. Okay, so to do all that, we have to go through. You know what, I'll do this point here. When you can actually select him as a party member. I mean, personally, I'd take you out and just leave him in. Sorry, you're just Gully, you're just not great. You're not great. Let's be real, Gully. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a look at all these bits and pieces as well for this one. Okay, so that is officially the end of that particular run that we'll piece together, which is to get Nolan on the team as soon as possible. Sweet, sweet. Okay. Notorious also, if you're in the end percentage, aren't you? If you are, don't forget to post your link up to your stream with that. Feel free, rope some of these lovely individuals that are in chat right now into stopping by and saying hello.